And next is Layda.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee, and fellow attestees. My name is Layda. I'm a resident of House District 31 and a candidate for the same. I am here to assert my testimony in opposition to SB1529A Engrossed. This bill is a textbook example of gut and stuff legislation. This is an established fact indisputable by anyone in attendance. While such surreptitiously submitted proposals are always somewhat concerning, I became very concerned when I read the vague language regarding the additional powers ceded to a public health director to declare an emergency over anything he or she deemed a, quote, condition of public health importance, end quote. What does that even mean? Sounds like the public health director could declare a healthcare emergency over just about anything they thought important. And we've all seen how these emergency declarations carry the simulated gravity of fully ratified legislation. This could conceptually lead to non-emergencies on unrelated matters to fall within purview of executive emergency declaration by the public health director. There is no limiting language, and what interpretable language there is seems to leave it fairly open-ended. How long until climate change finds itself as a healthcare emergency? Don't answer that. We already know. Other troublesome aspects of this bill can be found in Section 10, subsection 4. Quote, if the Oregon Health Authority adopts temporary rules to implement subsection 2 of this section, the rules adopted are not subject to the provisions of ORS 183.3356A. Okay, what's that mean? Let's read it and find out. ORS 133.3356A. A rule adopted, amended, or suspended under subsection 5 of this section is temporary and may be effective for a period of not longer than 180 days. So, that clause would make all temporary rule changes permanent, on demand, from the beginning, end of story. How sneaky. We've all seen that the public health director and the OHA are completely unanswerable to the people of Oregon. We witnessed this clearly on January 20th when nearly 200 health freedom activists showed up in person to the OHA in Portland to petition their government for a redress of their grievances against the mask mandates being made permanent. Over 150 people testified against this measure in the Zoom meeting. Not one person spoke in support. Over 200 people on the call had their hand up when it ended. It had zero negligible effect. The wheels of the machine rolled on despite complete and total opposition heard in the public hearings. The OHA and public health director have already indicated via conduct how little regard for the consent of the governed they possess. So, in summary, this gut and stuff bill would put vast and vague powers in the hands of an unelected administrator who can declare temporary emergencies over anything they feel important and redefines the word temporary to effectively mean permanent. Those pushing this proposed legislation may want to re-examine the name on the front of their party headquarters and the top of their letterhead. The will of the people, ignored, is the opposite of democracy. Please support the will of the people. Please do not cede further legislative power to unelected executive administrators. Every tyrannical government in recent history, from the Nazis to the Soviet and Chinese communists, used similar unchecked inflation of bureaucracy to revoke their people's ownership of their nation.
Okay, Mr. Layda.
Until the government owned the people.
Layda. Thank you.
SB 1529A must not.
Thank you, Mr. Layda. I have a few things to say.